L'chaim, v'livracha. Oh, goes down like good coffee. Why do I need coffee? Why do you need food? Because you need to internalize the food, the drink, in order to give you the strength to teach, to do whatever good you do. So we need to have food and drink. It's not enough the air we breathe, because the food and drink becomes our blood that gives us life. So that's physical life that we have, right? It gives us physical life, which of course is crucial. Some people only live in a physical existence, which is survival. Survival, physical survival, food and drink, emotional survival, psychological survival, and whatever it might be. But that's on survival mode. How do you not become a survivor, but a thriver? We speak about Holocaust survivors as survivors. I suggest they were not survivors, they were thrivers. They were able to thrive in darkness. Now, in some moments, of course, they hang on to a thread of life and they barely survived. That's true. But really, to barely survive physically is because emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, they had to thrive ultimately. Ultimately. And that's how they were able to survive physically. Because they had to rise up to such a place that they could actually thrive spiritually so they could survive physically. Point that I want to bring out is that our spiritual survival is greater than even physical survival. And spiritual survival ultimately, comes from a place, or should lead us to a place of thriving, not merely survival. Welcome to Tanya today. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you for Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We continue in the first letter of the Alter Rebbe. Started yesterday in Igeris Kodesh, in the holy letters of the Alter Rebbe. And we spoke about, interesting, the human makeup. And we understand the human makeup, right? When we understand the human makeup, we understand that the human makeup isn't merely for survival. It's in order that we should thrive. So our physical makeup is made up in a way that we should, survive physically, but really much more than that. Um, anybody who's uh, yeah. So When we understand that we have loins, right, they are to hold up our body physically. Loins, they're to hold up our body physically. They hold up our torso, they hold up our head and our arms. Without that, it's hard to survive. But when we understand it spiritually, it's a much more powerful idea. It's actually about thriving. So our loins, metaphorically, are our emunah, our faith in God. What's our faith in God? That God, not that there is a God, but that God is present eminently in everything in this world. And at the same time, he is transcendent to this world. That's faith. That the two things coincide, that they're two opposites, right? Because either you're here or you're beyond here, right? You're not here and transcendent to being here at the same time. We can't do that. But God can do that. And that's, since we don't have an experience of that, that's why it's called faith. We don't have an experience of such a thing. We can kind of get why it has to be that way, but we don't have an experience of it. That's our faith. And what's our faith holding up? Our spiritual body. What's our spiritual body? Well, our head is our intelligence, and our arms, our right arm is love of God, and the left arm is the awe of God. So our faith holds it up, holds up our intelligence. Now, without that faith, we wouldn't have proper intelligence in how to look at the world. We would see the world as a jungle without faith. As most people, a lot of people, well, everybody here doesn't. I mean, we do see parts of a jungle, but we wouldn't qualify the world as God's jungle. I hope not. Not if you're learning Tanya, right? Is there an element of the jungle here? Absolutely. Is that what this is? Absolutely not. It's God's garden. And we're here to make it into a better garden. How do I have that perspective? Well, if I have true faith in God, and God is immanent, and God is transcendent, and God is present, that means, God's present. Well, this can't be a jungle then. It must be God's garden. It's not revealed. Okay, so I got to reveal it. I've got to, that's my duty. Let me express it in this world. And being aware of this, it's going to bring to animating me, right? Animating what I have in my mind, going to animate me in my heart with my love and awe of God. So, wow, how privileged, how lucky I am that I am here with a purpose to bring the presence of God. Excuse me. Bring this presence of God in this world. Okay, that's what we learned previously. Now the question is, what if I'm lacking in my faith? What if I need to strengthen my faith? How do I do that? How do you strengthen faith? It's a good question. See, Alter Rebbe tells us, right? Others, you exercise your legs, your loins get stronger. Your loins get stronger, right? Matter of fact, yesterday I did exercise, strengthening my loins physically. Wow, look at that. Wow. Physically strengthening my loins, right? To hold up the body, my head, my arms. So what is strengthening my spiritual loins, my emunah, my faith? Says the Alter Rebbe. And by the way, it's not just holding up your faith, because your faith is holding up your perspective on life, your understanding of understanding, and that understanding of God's presence, that it brings it into a love and awe of God. So it's, there's a lot pending over here. It says, what is strengthening is our involvement in the oral Torah, because Torah is like food, and food nourishes. And what does it nourish? The soul. What is the soul? Faith in God. So study of Torah, the oral Torah, as opposed to learning like the 5 books of Moses. If you're learning Rashi and the 5 books of Moses, that's oral Torah, right? Why the oral Torah? Because the oral Torah lets us know the supreme will of God. What do I mean by that? If you read in the 5 books of Moses, it tell you a lot of all the mitzvahs to do, keeping the Sabbath, putting on tefillin, phylacteries, right? All of that is in the 5 books of Moses, except you will not know how to put on tefillin by reading Chumash. You will not know how to keep the Sabbath by learning Chumash, the written law. You need the oral tradition that elaborates upon it in order to know what the will of God is. So the oral Torah manifests the will of God, so I know how to connect to Him, right? Torah itself is unfold from Chachma. It's merely revealed through divine wisdom. However, the root of Torah is beyond divine wisdom. It's the will of God that's beyond. Just like the will of the person is greater than the intelligence of the person, right? As you can intellectually understand something, but that doesn't mean if you understand how good something is, but you don't want it, guess what? Who's going to win? Your understanding or your will? Who's going to win? Your will. Because your will is stronger than your intelligence. It's a more powerful quality of the individual. So you don't want it? Doesn't matter how much you understand. Or how many times did you explain something to a friend of yours or to yourself even, how good this is, how important it is, and intellectually you get it. But you're not interested. You're not interested? Guess what? All the intelligence in the world ain't going to help. Right? That's just to bring out the idea that the supreme will of God is greater than the intelligence of God. So the oral Torah manifests the supreme will of God, His wisdom, His divine wisdom, right? And therefore it's written to illustrate the effect of Torah upon the soul, that it's like a crown, right? A crown is beyond the person. The will is greater than the intelligence. It's on the head, on the intelligence of the individual. Others, Torah encompasses and protects the soul of the student who studies Torah, like all of us here right now. Right? It's above. Meaning, Torah is transcendent of divine intelligence, divine wisdom. And what reveals that part of the Torah that is the will of God is the oral Torah. Right? Which this is the idea that it says a woman of valor is the crown of her husband. Husband, metaphorically, is the written word. Wife, woman, is the oral tradition. She is the crown of her husband, meaning the oral tradition is the crown of the wisdom of God. Because oral tradition, the oral Torah, is what elaborates to us, gives us the understanding of the will of God. Therefore, our sages say, whoever studies Torah law every day is assured life in the world to come. Because by studying the oral tradition, which is what we're doing now when we study Tanya, right? We're understanding the will of God, right? And by studying the oral Torah, it enables us to be receptive to the divine revelation of the world to come. We'll learn more about that. This then is what it means for Chadra, that she girds her loins with strength, right? Which is something we say every Friday night in Ashes Chayil and the Woman of Valor, before we make Kiddush every Friday night. We say, she, who's the she? Who's she? The neshama, the soul, girds her loins with strength. The loins, again, being her, the soul's faith in God. That God is immanent and God is transcendent at the same time. That God cares, that God wants us, He needs our mitzvahs. That's our faith. Now, what's giving power to it? What's giving strength? Well, there's only one strong thing in this world, and that's Torah. That's strength. Right? So when we study Torah, it gives strength to what? Our faith. It's giving strength to our faith. Whoa. It's amazing. So we can fortify our faith in God. So parenthetically, I just want to say for a moment that whenever we're having troubles of faith, study Torah, the oral tradition, study the law. Like this is the law in the will of God, right? To know what does God want. By knowing what God wants, that's going to crown you, feed your faith as a result. And we see that when we study Torah, that we can go through things in life that take faith in God, that we're able to go through it. I hope that's what's happening right now in our studying together every day, day in, day out, right? That we study together, that's strengthening your faith, that whatever trials and tribulations, whatever difficulties you're going through, that these teachings are feeding you. Like food feeds and gives strength, our spiritual food is the divine will of God as it's expressed in the oral Torah. Learning it feeds our faith. And what does the faith do then in turn? As we said, it holds up the body, holds up the head, which then when we perceive what's going on in our lives, we're going to see that God is present, God is real, God is there with us. And that will lead to being animated with love and awe, the right and left arm. That's what's going to happen. Each person in their measure of what they're capable to meditate upon, think about, and how much they studied that fed their faith. This is like unbelievable. Now, when is this going to be kind of more expressed? This love and awe of God, right? The arms, right? Why do some people speak with their arms? Because they're passionate. What's passion? It's an emotion, right? Love and awe. They speak with their arms. So that's why metaphorically, right? The loins hold up the torso, hold up the head, and then from the head, right, that leads to the arms, meaning love and awe of God. So when is it that we're going to have that strengthening fortification that will fortify not just my strength, but through my faith, but from my faith, that's going to ultimately what we want from our faith is to hold up that we can perceive things with our intelligence properly, that from that proper perception that we see the world in a way that it brings us to love and awe of God, that we feel connected, not disconnected, that we feel a true bond and a connection. So when is that going to be more revealed, that love and awe of God? Time of prayer. Because time of prayer is a time of compassion in heaven, that the supreme will of God is revealed at that time of compassion. And prayer in the morning, time we seek out God. So when we can devote ourselves, concentrate the depths of our heart to connect and to pour out our heart before God, squeeze out every last ounce of connection, right? Like, yeah. So what do we have? The study of Torah, oral Torah, strengthens our faith. So before we, every morning, 7:05, we learn here the oral Torah, strengthens our faith, that then we can, after that, we study, can contemplate and think a little bit about God in our minds and our relationship with God, God's presence, his realness in the world, and then meditate upon that. And then we come to our love and awe of God, that we express that in our prayers. Very powerful. Any questions? Yeah, silent Amida, exactly. Okay, Davida, are women more prone to having faith? We see this in the matriarchs, and the Mashiach coming will be Hazel woman's Emunah. Absolutely. Woman's faith, Emunah, is more intact, more real. Yeah, they're more attuned to their neshama, to their soul as a whole. Not, it's not across the board, obviously, but as a whole, absolutely. Yes. Hi. Yeah. Hence, women's role is very crucial in Jewish teachings. Not an afterthought, not like, not important, not at all. Not at all. Very important. Okay, Darren, if I fail, does that mean my will is lacking? If we fail, does that, well, it could be many areas that are lacking, but definitely the first place of, the soul's expression is in will. You're wanting. You want something. Why do you want something? You're lacking something. So if you're lacking the connection, right? One of the things we need to do is work on, yes, absolutely, our will. Amazing. Let's just say hello to some people today. Um, Someone's asking something that's got nothing. No, when the Talmud speaks about a 3-year-old, uh, doesn't mean that they should. 3-year-old is not at all that they're, they're that they are meant to have relations. From 3 is a different category. if in fact they do, but no, not meant to. Okay, Patricia is with us in Ohio, Joe in Washington State, Jan in Mexico, Frank in Syria, Carmen in Texas, Nancy in Massachusetts, Frank, Robert in, ooh, Nancy in Massachusetts, Boston. Elise is in West Virginia. Jeffrey in Toronto. Liba and Davida in New York. Edda is with us. Diane in Arizona. Sandy in Michigan. John, North Carolina. June is in Australia. Darren in the Philippines. Lori, you have to remind me, forget. Daphne, South Carolina. Uh, Margot. Oh, welcome back, Margot, in California, if I remember. I mean, Tim is in Texas. Ayala on Crown Heights, Brooklyn. All right, beautiful. Um, David is in California. What else do we have here? Livsha in Baltimore. Eugene in Calgary. Jolie is in. Prayers here are 7:30 in the morning. Simcha in Florida. Oh, okay, beautiful. And who do we have over here? Jennifer is in Minnesota, if I remember. And in Turkey is Kemak. I don't know if I pronounced that properly. All righty, folks. Rambam coming up. Come and join us. And we're going to continue our conversation.